Hey guys, welcome back. It's attorney Bob Diamond. If you've ever felt like everywhere you turn, people are glued to the negative news on TV that they're seeing on their phone, that's on their social media, then this video is for you. Now, I'm sure you know the feeling. You're in line at the supermarket, you're at a restaurant with your friend, you're sitting in a red light in traffic, playing with your kids, and you get a little bored and you decide, hey, I'm going to check the news. When you do check the news, it gives you an absolutely sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach. It gets you down, makes you grumpy, makes you feel pessimistic, anxious, cynical, for some people depressed. Well, today I'm going to tell you how it's really not your fault. The news is setting you up for failure and it's addicting you. And we'll give you a better way to think about the news and just avoid the negative cycle because it's not productive for you. It doesn't put you in a good mind frame and it doesn't do anything for you except get you upset. The story I'm about to tell you may sound a little strange at first, but just bear with me for a moment. So in 1971, a very famous Hollywood director named Frank Capra, he published his autobiography, and the book was called The Name Above the Title. And in the book, director Capra offered a detailed account of his life and his career, spanning his entire life from the journey of a Sicilian immigrant family to eventually becoming one of Hollywood's most celebrated directors. We're talking like Alfred Hitchcock level back in the day. And the title of the book itself, The Name Above the Title, that's a nod to Frank Capra's status in the film industry as an absolute master and an icon. He was one of the very few directors whose name often appeared above the film's title in promotional materials because he was so important that people would just go to see a movie because he made it. He was a really big deal. Now, you might be thinking, well, Bob, what's this got to do with the news? So just bear with me, I promise we'll get to a good point here. So here are a few takeaways from Capra's book on what makes for great entertainment, and that's the key to this. So according to Frank Capra, and this is just the truth, the cardinal sin of a filmmaker is to be boring. If you don't keep audiences entertained, if you don't keep them on the edge of their seat, anticipating the next moment, you're not gonna have a good movie and you're not gonna have people engaged. But when you do keep them entertained, you do keep them on the edge of their seat, they'll accept just about anything. What people want to hear is stories about other people. Entertainment is often a tool to rally people around beating the bad guys. I mean, think about every action movie you've ever seen. It's the good guys against the bad guys. The good guys don't want to get in a fight. Good guys are forced to get in a fight. Good guys are getting down, they're overwhelmed. The guy's surrounded by 12 people with guns, and then he fights his way out. It's amazing. It's all silly, it's all not realistic, but in the movies, you can't look for objectivity. They're looking to get your gut reaction. They're looking for the emotion. And sensationalism that gets emotion going, that's how the movies get you. And that sounds familiar, right? This is exactly what happens in every, especially action movie, even in a romantic movie. They don't like one another, and then they're attracted, and then they get together, and then there's a problem, and then they get back together again. And they live happily ever after. So here's the problem. The news is in big trouble. Their lunch has entirely been taken. Their lunch, dinner, and breakfast has been taken by social media, by Google, by TikTok, by Facebook, by YouTube. All the people that used to get all their news from 3 big channels and a couple of big newspapers, they're completely diluted. Newspapers are all going bankrupt. The traditional media is just belly up, basically. So what they've done is they're trying to be entertaining rather than informative, because that is the only way they're going to get you on the edge of your seat, dying to pay attention to their next news story and get your attention. And here's the problem with that. The news industry's job used to be to keep us informed, and because there were just a couple of them that held a monopoly, they could do that. But today, they're so desperate for money that they're just trying to keep us hooked and entertained with the equivalent of potato chips of information. It's not a wholesome meal. It's not a plate of broccoli. It's a plate of potato chips where there's no nutritional value. It just makes you not feel good. It just makes you overweight and unhappy with your body. And it's just not good for you, but we love our potato chips, right? A couple of ways this shows up. First of all, they pick the stories that they cover. What they can cover is probably 4 or 5 things at any given time. So what they cover is the most extreme people, the most extreme images, the most dramatic stories, so that you'll pay a lot of attention. That's why you don't see good news. You see bad news. When you look on one of the news channels, what do you see? Breaking news across the bottom, and bright red caps going across. You can barely read it, and there's someone talking at the same time. There's other stuff up in the corners. Makes you feel like you just got a cup of coffee and nervous. It's always breaking news. It's always the most urgent thing. This is an election year. You can hear, this is the most important election of our time, blah, 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 blah. Is it important? Yes. But they say that every time. I honestly think they just pull the scripts out from last time. There's a phrase in the news industry, and that is, if it bleeds, it leads. So the news organizations understand that something horrible, something tragic, something gruesome is what you're going to be hooked on, and they're going to force you to watch it because that's all they're going to give you. They're not going to tell you about anything good. And it's really a problem because when you're constantly being agitated and upset and thinking that the world is going to end unless I do X or don't do X, or unless that person does or does something. It's even worse because have no control over it. And also, journalism honestly has become opinion journalism for all of it. They're always pushing an agenda. This reading it. If you want to see some leftist stuff, go tune into MSNBC or for the most part CNN. You can see a left wing or at least left of center on CNN. You see left wing things being put up. If you like stuff that's more right-wing, well, just tune into Fox or a couple other places or Salem News Network and you'll be great. You'll get that. And also the demands of being on 24/7. It used to be the news was on for an hour a night. Now it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So they have to keep pumping out content and they have to keep you interested enough to watch it more than just an hour a day. That's tough. And what happens is that the more dramatic it is, the more gruesome it is, the more gross it is, the more upsetting it is, the more they're going to get you to pay attention. And that part of the reason is because the way we're wired as humans, we're wired to seek safety and to avoid danger. So back in caveman days, if a wild bear came into the camp, it got everybody's attention really quick because it was dangerous and could end your life. So people would run, people would scream, and people would pay a lot of attention. If something good happened, like there was a beautiful sunrise or sunset, they probably didn't even notice. And we're still wired that way. We evolve very, very slowly. So we're wired to pay attention to danger. Pay attention, danger, 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 somebody was elected, danger, a politician did this, danger, there's a war here. It's all that all the time. And all that the news is trying to do, honestly, is survive. They're just trying to get more sponsored content because they get more eyeballs on something, more paid subscriptions, and suck in more of your data to mine. Now, I'm not advocating that you remain ignorant or never watch the news. I'm just saying you shouldn't buy into the sensationalism and understand they're doing everything that they can to hook you, and try to just step back and take the overview and understand that most of it is not that important. And like a wise man said once, this too shall pass. But I want to make sure you understand how this game is played. The news industry knows that the news that sells and gets your attention is bad news. And the worse it is, the badder it is, the better. And so according to the media, if you watch them, what you would think is the world is completely made up of hateful speech, hateful content, people hating one another, violence, and suffering. Did you ever wonder why, as you go through your life, you don't experience that much? Think about it. On the news, it's there every day. It's like the only thing that's happening. Yet, when you go out in life, I'll bet you don't see it. I'm not saying it's not there, it is, but we have, just in the United States, 330 million people. So of course there are people getting into disputes every day. No question, there's a matter of the number of people. And if you go worldwide, which the news does, you've got billions of people. So of course there's stuff going on. There's violence and hate and suffering because of the number of people. But when you watch the news all the time, you get a totally outsized impression of how much there is, because what you see is that's every day, all the time. And yeah, it is, but it's like 1/10 of 1/10 of 1/10% of what's going on compared to all the loving good things that happen every day. So what the news is going to do is they're going to feed you things that are frightening, feed you things that are infuriating, that just make you mad. And especially best, things that make you mad that you can't do anything about. That's even better, because then you could just be frustrated. You'll be, what did they do today? What did that politician do today? It's really ridiculous. They're really exploiting our caveman mind, which is be careful of the bear in the yard. And again, we don't control the bear in the yard either, but it sure gets your attention, doesn't it? The result of all this, of you essentially being forced to watch horror movies all day, every day, talking about the very worst of human behavior, and you expose yourself to doomsday bias regularly, it's going to shape the way that you think and the way that you feel, and not in a good way. You're going to be angry at the world. You're going to become suspicious. Everybody's not to be trusted. Everybody's a a robber, a thief, a scammer, a child molester, a trafficker, a wife beater, a raper. Yes, some people are, but it's the very small percentage of people. And I invite you just compare your experience of the world on a day-to-day basis versus what you're seeing in the news all the time. And so all you're going to do by paying too much attention to the news is feeling angry, anxious, and sad. And here's probably the most important problem. It absolutely programs you for failure. Whatever is constantly on your mind determines what you become. If you spend a lot of your time looking at violence and drama and negativity, your mind is going to be occupied with negativity. And also, if it's mostly things that you can't change, that you don't control, then you'll just be frustrated on top of that. So you're angry, frustrated, negative person. You wouldn't even want to be with yourself if you're that person. And it will absolutely wear on your ability to be productive because it's distracting. What you have to do is just moderate your watching of the news. Mostly, you could not watch it, you'd still know what's going on. It's impossible not to, but you just cannot get sucked in because remember, they're just trying to keep you sucked in to sell access to your attention to advertisers and to get you to pay money if they're trying to run a subscription model. So what could you do instead of spending that time? Well, you could work on improving your health, your fitness. Maybe you want to lose some weight, maybe you want to get better shape. Maybe you want to find a side hustle to get out of a job that is just not the job for you anymore. Maybe to pay off some of those debts that maybe you're piling up, or add to the savings that you really want to be there, or add to your retirement so retirement's closer and it's going to be a better quality retirement. Maybe focus on a business that you want to start. Even just do a hobby that you enjoy. Heck, read a book. Read a book that you really enjoy. So you can do this. And also, let me tell you how I think you should use the news, and it's okay. So there's a famous couple, James Carville and Mary Maitland. You've probably heard of them. They have, I think, pretty good statement on this. And if you don't know who they are, they're a famous couple. One is far left and the other is far right, and they're political commentators and political consultants. And the funny thing is they're married and they're completely polar opposite ends of the political spectrum. So I'd love to be a fly on the wall at their family dinners. Anyway, at one point, James Carville said, people should use the news like a person on the street uses a lamppost, for support, to lean up against, not for illumination. There are a billion things at any given moment that you could be informed about by the news, that you could educate yourself on, or that you could seek out information about. You have to organize the noise and seek out information that's going to help you have a better life, help you have more money, more wealth, more happiness, more love, more connection. And so the first thing to do is set up filters based on what's important to you to capture information. Google can do that for you, and a couple other services. Set up filters that feed you the kind of things you do want to know about, things that will add to your life. So for example, if you're really interested in cooking, set up filters that get you new recipes. If you're interested in diet and exercise, set up filters that bring you information about diet and exercise. For that matter, subscribe to blogs and watch videos from smart people that offer you things you're interested about. I would stay away from the political commentators. They will make you just depressed, anxious, angry, upset, and not a nice person to be around. And I guarantee you a few things. Number one, politicians will keep arguing and keep telling us this is the most important election of our lifetime, of the entire lifetime of the United States. They will all say that every time. Not saying it's not actually important, but give it a rest. They say it's the same thing every time. I guarantee you the government will keep running and the world will carry on and do the same things whether you're mentally involved or not. So the secret to you being happy, effective, and efficient, having more of what you want, is to find actionable information that comes to you. For example, if you were trading foreign exchange or doing stock investing, you'd read the financial and world news all the time. If you want to be in a business, you'd spend your time reading about business, how it works, marketing, advertising, looking at businesses that you could potentially do. So there's lots you can do. My part in it, we do a business called Overages. If you're interested in that, you can learn more about it. The short take on it is we help people that have lost their home at a tax or mortgage foreclosure sale get back a big refund, which happens when the house sells for more than the amount that was owed on it. So we make it a business of finding those people and letting them know about the money and offering for a percentage to go get the money that we found. My advice to you, just limit what gets into your sphere of view and what gets into your mind. You have to do that because they're not going to do that for you. If there's an app that makes your phone buzz or beep, turn it off. My phone doesn't ring, buzz, or beep. I turn it off. I do check it regularly on a schedule, but you don't want it pulling your attention. That's really a problem. So set a time every day to check messages. If you want to check social media for a short time, set a time limit on it. Do not set it for a long time. And you can actually set up controls that would stop it at, if you spent half an hour. So do that. You need to put yourself in control of your life. Don't let people with an agenda to get your attention set what gets into your brain. And once you free up your time and free up your mind, you're going to be closer to achieving those goals for money, for health, for relationships. And probably you're watching my channel because you have an interest in making money. There are a couple videos here that you can watch if you want to learn about Overages, which is the business that I do and teach and absolutely love. Click on a video that appeals to you and you'll learn about it. So this is attorney and self-made multimillionaire Bob Diamond wishing you much success, love, and joy in your life. If you enjoyed this message, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you want to hear more like this. And if you want to hear more comments or may expand anything, please just put comments down below and I'll be happy to give you more on this and talk more about it. So wishing you all the best. This is attorney Bob Diamond, over and out for now.